Hello and welcome to Kingdom Inspired Kidz Podcast. I'm your host, Calvette Boyd. And today we were going to be talking to a great woman of God. So I want to tell you a little bit about this woman. She has been a mentor for me. She has been not just a mentor, but a friend. And I've watched her grow and evolve in her personal journey as well as in her business journey. And so I'd like to go ahead and bring her on. We're going to talk about some business today, and we are also going to talk about her children and how she's navigated through raising children that have had some disabilities or some challenges. So here we are. I'm going to bring her on and welcome Michelle Green.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Calvette.
Hello, and thank you so much for joining the show today. I'm really excited to have you here. I want to talk a little bit about, I want you to introduce yourself and tell us who you are and just kind of explain how we even met each other.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you for that. And thank you for having me on the show, Calvette. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much. I am Michelle Green, and I am a business owner of over 35, almost 35 years. I started out as a financial advisor. I also started a credit repair business, and it is Kingdom Builders Credit Repair, and that's kind of how we met. And then I opened up a nonprofit organization called Kingdom Builders Community Development Center for financial literacy to people who are less fortunate, and being able to help them to get resumes done and get jobs and have job placement, as well as open up businesses and do their own thing. And then lastly, we started in 2018 Kingdom Builders Business University. And this is a business school where you can get an associate certification, a bachelor's certification, or a VIP master certification at the school for learning how to do business the right way, as well as being able to get funded and all types of advantages for being a part of our school. And how we met, Calvette, was through a friend of mine who, Miss Nita, who was also like your best friend, I believe.
Yes.
Yes. And so I was connected with Anita, and she connected me with you as a referral. And we just kind of hit it off and been friends ever since.
Right. So that's been probably, I think my kids were really small then. So that's probably been, wow, 12 years ago. It's been a while. So I did.
Yes.
I met you through Nita, which was really a blessing. Had no idea when I met you that we would have this connection, but it's like we just connected and we never let go. So
Never did.
yeah, we never let go. And so I came in as a student, not as a student, I'm sorry. I came in as a client through Kingdom Builders Business Unit, Kingdom Builders Credit Repair. And that was
Yes.
before the business university even started. But I came in and I was actually able to purchase my home. I was able to purchase my vehicle and all that stuff, through Kingdom Business, Kingdom Builders Credit Repair. And then I journeyed over into Kingdom Builders Business University and became a student there and learned a lot about how to set up business the right way. Something that, I see a lot of people on social media giving you little nuggets of this and that. But if you have an idea to start a business, you should join Kingdom Builders Business University. Okay. Because Michelle is awesome when it comes to that. And as a matter of fact, when I came to you as credit repair, I remember you saying, there's more to you, right? There's more to you. And you kept telling me, there's more to you than this. And so you kind of been that person that's kind of spoken, been that positive influence and role model and spoken into my life when it comes to my journey, even as a Christian. Like, you've always been that motivation. So publicly, I want to say thank you for that. I really
You
appreciate
are most welcome. I'm so
it.
grateful.
I love you so much. I'm so grateful
I love you
that you
too.
connected us. So it has been a journey. The credit repair business. I see a lot of people on social media, like I was saying, they give you a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But I can say truly, like, if you want your credit repaired, if you want to learn about budgeting, if you want to learn about your finances, any of that kind of stuff, it's Kingdom Builders Credit Repair. And then if you have any business idea, Kingdom Builders Business University. Because when I started, Michelle, I remember I started with G&G Ribbonet. I had been making hair bows and all that kind of stuff, and I was into event planning and those kind of things. And look at me now, I have a whole podcast.
Woo!
I have a
Yes,
whole
you do.
podcast,
I'm so
something I
happy
never
for
thought I could
you.
do. Right. But I have a whole podcast, and not just that, out of Kingdom Builders Business University was birthed Kingdom Inspired Kidz LLC, Kingdom Carriers Global Logistics. And then I got a few other things that I'm thinking about. So I just keep getting, it's like God keeps downloading all this information for me. And I'm just like, wait a minute now, this is a lot, right? And you're one of those people that'll say, hey, do it one at a time. Do
One
one.
at a time. That's right. But you
So
can do it all.
yeah. So anything else you want to share about the credit repair business or business university? Anything else you want to share about that before we get into the family piece?
Well, if you're having any problems with your credit, a lot of people are out there and they think that the main focal point is just being able to get some new credit as long as they can get approved. That's really not the solution for playing the credit game. There's so many details to playing the credit game. For example, if you're due on the first of the month and you think that, okay, well, if I don't pay it on the first, I pay it on the fifth. How many days would you say that you're late? Most people would say they are only late about 4 or 5 days, when in actuality, they are late over 35 days. So, just something simple as that piece of information that can really make or break your credit and being able to keep you in a high 700 or 800 credit score really will make the difference. So if you're having any problems, you can go to www.kingdombuilderscreditrepair.com, and you can also watch us on our Kingdom Builders Credit Repair TV show. That's the KBCR TV show at Kingdom Builders Credit Repair, also on YouTube. We are airing every Friday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, and we are on Amazon, Apple, Roku, Droid TV. We are pretty much everywhere streaming live at Kingdom Builders Credit Repair. So make sure that you get locked in. And if you are an entrepreneur or you're thinking about leaving the job, the reason why we started the whole Kingdom Builders Business University in the first place is because we talked to several of our credit repair clients that were interested in leaving their jobs or just doing something extra so they can make some more money. And that was you also, Calvette. So
It
we
was.
wanted to, yeah. So what we do at Kingdom Builders Business University, if you're thinking about an idea, if you don't have the idea formed yet, or if you're already in full-blown operation, you have your company and you're working it, but you know that there are some things that are missing, then all we carry you all the way through from beginning to end with your business. That means that we do setup, we handle all the legal matters, copyrights, trademarks, contract agreements, insurance, taxes, banking, anything that you can think of as it relates to setting up your business properly, making sure that you are legit by legal ramifications. And then we take you into money, credit, and funding. That is our second curriculum of our courses that we offer. And what we do there is help you to position yourself for business credit, for business funding, being able to get the grants and the loans and the business credibility that you need so that you don't have to just depend on the sale of your clients for your product or service. And then we go into business management and automations, which entails mainly your bookkeeping, your HR, your payroll, but in addition to that, a customer relationship management system to hold your clients so that you can communicate with thousands upon hundreds of thousands of people, depending on what your clientele base is. And then we also teach you how to set up systems like coaching, as well as if you are trying to be, let's say, start a course. We help you to do all of those things in the business school. And the last course that we have in the curriculum is marketing, media, and sales. And we know that most people, when they start their business, they want to get out into that marketing media and make a sale, but that's the last thing that you should be thinking about doing when it comes to getting your business in the right position. Why? Because if everything else is not in place, then the lenders, the people who will give you the grants, the money, and even your clientele, if they don't see that you have a solid foundation, they're not interested. They will only be temporarily a part of your organization before it all falls apart. So that's what we do at KBBU. We help you to do business the right way. So come on over to www.kbbulllc.com if you're interested in one of our certifications.
That is amazing. So I can tell you, I've been through the course. I think I've been through twice. So 2 semesters of it. And
Two or three or four.
I think two. And I've got, as a matter of fact, you wouldn't believe this, but I've actually got my I have it right here. I just wanted to show that because it is very professional, right? It is a very professional business university. The journey was amazing for me. If
Oh, thank
you have
you.
gone through KBBU and your business is not set up correctly, it is definitely because you did. It is not because you didn't get the information. It is because you didn't follow the instructions. And I can tell you, Michelle is all about following the instructions.
Yes,
What I love
yes.
about KBBU is that this business is not just a business, right? This is a mandate from God. This is an assignment that you're on. And what I love is that anytime you're in KBBU and you start out, there's a prayer and you pray in and you pray out.
That's right. Absolutely,
How
yes.
many businesses do that? Not many. And so
Not many.
not many at all. And so that was inspiration for me. As a matter of fact, when I was looking for names, I'm like, okay, what is the name of my business? Like, what am I doing? Kingdom Inspired Kids,
I
right?
love it. I love it.
And so even with the trucking, the kingdom carriers, global logistics, same thing. It's all about the kingdom. So that is
It
why
is.
we're here to help build the kingdom of God. We are not just out here just doing something. This is something that we've been called to do. And so
Yes,
we're going to make
indeed.
sure that we're operating, in excellence and doing what we're supposed to be doing and working as though we're working unto the Lord. So let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about your family. Tell me a little bit
Yes.
about your family and how you and I even got to these conversations.
Well, I'm a wife. I've been married for 16 years, 21 years together, to my loving husband. And I have, between us, there are 5 children, one deceased. I started out getting married around the age of 36. And I had 2 girls and my husband had 2 boys. So we brought them together and we made a family. And it worked out very well. The kids got along very good. But prior to that is what we're going to have a conversation about, the struggles that I had as a single parent, raising 2 small children and, dealing with ADHD, ADD, and different challenges that we went through with my children. But we have 5 kids altogether, one deceased. He was shot and killed in 2015. And then we have like a set of older children and one together. So our youngest is like 12 years old, but he looks like a grown man. Yes, he does. He's like 5'10" in a size 13 and a half shoe. wearing grown men clothes, and his voice is just now changing. So it's just really an amazing experience to go through, to see your older children, some of them that have kids, and then the youngest that is 12 years old. So my oldest is 32 and my youngest is 12, and everybody else falls somewhere in between.
Well, you look amazing. And I remember that journey. Like, I think we had just met when you lost your son. So,
Yes.
again, I remember that journey and how challenging that was. So, still, I know that that still has to be hard. So, still prayers for that. And I
Thank
know
you.
that you're welcome. I know that you are a strong individual. I know that your faith, I know where your faith is, but let's dive into how you learned about mental health with your children.
Well, I learned about mental health by default. Years and years and years ago. I'm talking like my grandmother now, but years ago, when my oldest daughter was about 3 years old, we noticed that there were some challenge. I noticed that there were some challenges with her, with the rocking back and forth. Really, around 2 years old, she would sit and rock in the room. Sometimes she would just kind of tap out, kind of zone out. And I noticed that there was some issues going on with the attention, with her being the kind of person that, just sought attention, and it just was not a break in time of where she needed me to be looking at her or watching her do something. So I noticed very early in the game, when she was about 2, some of this behavior began. And then there was a situation where it escalated to the point where we had to start going to the doctor. The doctors wanted to put her on different medications. I come from a family or a household that really did not believe in therapy, did not believe in, putting any children on medication. It was more about disciplining your child and making sure that you, as the parent, were the authority figure and you implemented that very strongly. So it was more so figure it out for yourself and do away with what the doctor is saying. So that's the kind of mindset that I had back then. And being that this was my first child, and even though I had my second child, my youngest daughter, um, she who was actually watching the behavior of my oldest daughter every single moment possible, because they were pretty much inseparable. They were right there together all the time. Their rooms right by each other. So if my oldest did something, my youngest would follow suit. Even if she didn't act it out, she was seeing exactly what was happening. So eventually, I kind of caught that win of her remembering what my oldest daughter was doing as she got older. I would say about 16, 15, 16 is when her actions actually started to show what she knew. Yes, but early in the game, I saw that there was something going on. But, we grow up in a community where people don't really want to admit that there is something going on. We just kind of like deal with it, whatever it is, push it under the rug, and just try to live our life the best as we can in anger. Because see, what happens is underlying is this hidden secret that something is not right, but you don't want to admit that, because everybody around you, everybody that everyone that you talk to, anyone that you engage with, they are on the opposite side saying that, hey, back then they were saying, hey, figure it out for yourself. Don't go to the doctors. Don't try to engage in any therapy. So what I ended up doing, because I really wanted to figure out like what was going on with my daughter, I ended up taking her to therapy. So we did therapy at an early age, but I did see some of the things that the community was saying to me about, You got to be careful because sometimes people will put things in your kid's head. So it was just a challenge. It was very frustrating because you don't have the answers being the first time parent. And then you grow into a community that really doesn't believe in assisting the children properly mentally. If we have a physical problem, yes, of course, go to the doctor. But if we have a mental problem, something that we cannot see, that is not encouraged in our communities. So what I ended up doing is taking her to therapy. The therapy turned into she needed to be on medication because the school started to see the problems that she was having, the challenges of her acting out, not paying attention, not being able to focus, not being able to be still. And I ended up putting her on, allowing the doctor to put her on 7 different medications.
Wow. Wow. So were they trying different medications to see how they would work and then they would switch the medication? Is that what happened?
So actually what happened is we started out with one medication to help her to focus, but then there was another medication to implement, a certain type of behavior for her to calm down. And
Okay.
then we had to what happened is as she grew and she became immune to the medication, then the doctor wanted to add another medication and another medication and another medication. And so we got all the way up to 7 different medications at one time. And yes, of course, in my mind, I'm thinking like that is just way too much. It is ridiculous. I don't see how this is really helping. I would watch my daughter kind of be a zombie 1 minute, and then the next minute she might be wilding out completely. She might just be, having an episode like a temper tantrum times 100. Okay. She could be doing that at school. It could happen in the middle of the day. I would have to get off from work. I would have to go to the school constantly every day, just about every other day, because it was always some kind of a challenge at school or at home. So it really didn't matter where or what time of the day or night it was. It just was going to happen. And that was my life. That was my life.
Wow. So I can tell you that as a parent, and I've dealt with that before, sometimes people just don't understand.
No, they
And
don't.
there are other parents, there are family members, there are friends that just don't seem to understand the challenges that we go through as parents, but these things are real, right?
Yes,
These
they
things are
are.
real. And in our
Very.
community, sometimes it appears to me that in our community there are not a lot of people that want to talk about it. And so that
Oh,
is where
no.
that hurt, that pain, that disappointment, that being broken is actually where Kingdom Inspired Kidz Podcast came from, where parents talk, because someone needs to be able to discuss this and help other parents kind of navigate through the uncertainty and the fear and the embarrassment of being a parent.
Exactly.
So, what were
Exactly.
some of the biggest challenges you faced, both emotionally and practically, in finding the right support for your kids? Or your
Mm. The biggest challenge is I was a single parent, so I was in the dating realm and trying to get someone as a significant other to understand and accept your child acting out, not knowing what's going to happen or when was the biggest challenge. And then, everyone wants to be loved. They want to give their love to someone, so that's just a part of how we're created. And I wanted love just as well. So I got into a 7-year relationship that was very demeaning. It was very, I can't even describe. It was just mentally abusive, I would say. So, on top of the emotional damage that was being done with the relationship, I ended up, also being emotionally damaged with my daughter because who wants as a parent to feel like that something's wrong with your child? Nobody. no parent wants to feel like something's wrong with your child and you have no earthly idea of what it is that's wrong or how to correct the issue. And so my emotions were all over the place because I didn't know what to think. This wasn't something that my family, immediate family, had ever told me that anyone in the family had incurred. So I didn't see anyone in my family to kind of be a guide as to how to resolve the issue. And then I'm in a relationship that I'm really not sure what the intentions of this person was, other than to just kind of mooch off of me because at 23, I bought my own house. That was how I started the whole credit repair business in the first place, was from my own work for myself. So I bought a house at 23. So I had a house and, just dealing with the relationship issues of finding the right person to be a part of your life and accept your children, in addition to dealing with the daily challenges of maybe one day you're in a calm state of mind, but then in the next second you're in a frazzled state of mind because you're dealing with your child just acting out, hitting, fighting, biting, kicking, screaming, running away. You just didn't know what to expect. So your emotions would always be on the up and the down, like a roller coaster ride. And, it was really challenging, not just for the significant other type of relationship, but also for my family, because my family, immediate family, had not dealt with anyone that was going through that type of scenario, especially from a child perspective. And I was told to just, deal with it. I was told to put her away. I looked into some of the things that, maybe take her to a home where other children are like that. But then there is the wonder of what she's going to learn once I take her there. And if she has to come back home, then what? Now I'm dealing with double the trouble that I was originally dealing with. So it was so many different major challenges, from friendships, family and friendships where I couldn't even go to family and friends' houses. Nobody wanted to babysit. So I really had a challenge of trying to get to know any male, any opposite sex to date. So it was chaotic. My life was really chaotic. And I just did the best that I could based off of what I knew. You have one side of it from the therapist, from the medication, and trying to figure out, okay, well, what is the best thing for your child? But then you become really exhausted with those emotions very quickly because it's something that you are dealing with on a regular 24-hour basis, not even having the relief at night for your child going to sleep because their brains are still functioning. They're going. And I'm not saying that the regular person, brain is not going, but my daughter would get up in the middle of the night and do things and basically sit and watch TV or get into something in the kitchen or whatever. And I would just have to be on P's and Q's at all times, whether I was asleep, whether I was awake, whether I was working. I had to find jobs that would accommodate for me to be able to get off from my job to address the issues with her at school. So it was just an emotional chaos. That's what it was. It was chaotic. It was hard. It was very hard because nobody really had the answers. One doctor was saying that my oldest daughter was that she had bipolar, and they couldn't diagnose a child as having bipolar at that age. So we're talking from age, I would say from age 5 and up. But when it really started to show itself, it was pretty much around the ages of, I would say maybe 7 or 8 to maybe, like her teenagehood. Now, the funny thing though, Calvette, is that it's not really funny, but the strange thing that happened is, and that's why I tell people all the time, your faith is everything. Like, you really got to have a strong faith. At the age of 12, I decided that I had enough with the medication. So I took my daughter off of all 7 medications.
At
Just
one
cold
time?
turkey at one time. I just threw them out, flushed them down the toilet. I said, I'm done with the medication. I'm not doing any of that anymore. So I cold turkey took her off of everything at one time. And
Wow.
she has never been on any medication since then.
Wow.
Okay. But let me say that did not eliminate the problems, but I will say that prayer does work. Because if you look at her life now, you would not believe that she was the same person if you knew her back then. If you knew her back then, you would have no clue. You would think it was two totally different individuals because it was a challenge to walk through those things with her, trying to get her to sit still, get her to calm down, get her to focus, get her to, just understand how to function as a person. And being at the age of like 7, 8, and up to 12, that was challenging in one way of hoping that your child would just kind of snap into being a normal person, but that didn't happen. And then the medication just really putting her in a trance almost. So going from that into stripping her from all the medications, and now you have to have the energy, the discipline, the wherewithal to really focus on day to day. How are you going to implement these disciplines of how she can function in life? So we had to do an IEP program. So to make sure that she did not get suspended from school permanently, which I didn't know anything about that. That was just something that was suggested to me by one of the teachers. Okay. And
Right.
then by the time I understood what the IEP program was doing and that there was a chance that she wouldn't graduate, even though it was for behavior and not academics, because academically she was smart as a whip, like a genius. Okay. But then on the flip side of that, it was like the behavior, she could probably end up in jail if it wasn't contained. Okay. If it
Right.
wasn't dealt with. All right. So it's so many different so many different challenges that came up along the way. But what I will say is that me having the faith and the strength God gave me to take her off those medications and just deal with or work through those situations from age 12 and up, it really changed her life, I believe.
Wow. What a journey. I have
Yes.
I've never known anyone to just take their children off of medication. But I can tell you that when you see your child, like no parent wants to see their child walk around like a zombie. Now, I haven't had that experience, but I've heard other parents have shared that with me. And no parent wants to see their child walk around like a zombie. It's really hurtful, as a parent. And no one wants to see their children acting out because sometimes we feel like it's our fault. It's the environment they're in. It's because I'm a single parent. It's because, my family doesn't support. It's because they're bullying them at school. We have all, as a parent, all kinds of things are going through your mind when your kids are acting this way, right? How
Yes.
did how did Michelle tell me how you approached talking to her about, mental health and kind of what age was she when you had that discussion? Or did you ever have that discussion?
Yes, I had the discussion, but I had it from a disciplinarian mindset. So it was never working at the beginning. From a disciplinarian, meaning that we were raised to, spank our children, to just discipline our children, put them on punishment every day. And it was constantly trying to take everything from her, stripping her of sweets, stripping her of any type of snacks, stripping her from, of course, anything with the red dye and the blue dye and all of those kinds of things. So that was my way of talking to her about mental health, is really trying to discipline her at the same time at first as well as take things from her to get her to pay attention to what I'm saying so that she would focus on what I'm talking about. But that didn't work. So around, I would say around 12, somewhere in the age of 12, after I took her off the medication, I actually did meet my husband. We started dating, and he was the only guy that was willing to take on the challenge. So 5 years later, we got married and all that good stuff. And I moved from one place to another. And I will say that when you move around, when there is no stability in a child's life like that, it really causes havoc. It really, uprooting them from one location with all their family and friends and people that they know into an environment, it shifted, but it kind of shifted for us in a positive way because now she was not aware of how people were going to respond to her. So it was at first when we first moved to the new location, which was about 2 hours away from where we were. New town, new area, new people, new environment, everything new. She was kind of on the calm side. I think because she wanted to get to know people and also to see if she could maybe make a new name for herself. So that was pretty interesting to watch her transition from being the kid that was always getting in trouble, fighting, biting, kicking, screaming, or doing something harmful to herself, another child, or even a teacher, to coming into a new environment and just kind of settling down and kind of feeling her way through. But the way that I started out talking to her is not the way that I ended up talking to her about mental health. As she got around the age of 13, 14, going into high school, there was an incident where she got into a fight and she got into a, a argument with a teacher, and they suspended her from the school permanently. This was from high school, first year of high school. So not like I said, at the age of of like 12 and up, I was just learning about the IEP program. I didn't really understand how it worked. So the ninth grade year, she had to go to an alternative school. And by her going to an alternative school, it actually showed her that she wasn't really that bad at all.
Yeah.
And it also allowed me the opportunity to then be able to help her to see that there is a difference between the children that really have a problem that need medication versus are you able to control your emotions through just not fighting, just not, acting out in the way that you act out, not cursing somebody out that is supposed to be teaching you, not fighting a principal or an adult, she began to really understand then after she went through the alternative school and she had to ride the short bus, I call it. Okay. She had to ride the short bus, and we know what that is. I'm not trying to be funny about anything, but after she had that experience for the remaining of that school year, it was like she became a whole different person. She was very interested in the perspective of how people viewed her. She didn't want people to see her as someone that was crazy. She didn't want people to see her as someone that had any issues. So, what happened is we ended up finding out that the IEP program allowed her to stay in school, even though she finished her last year of ninth grade in the alternative school. We found out over the summer that they never should have suspended her because she was protected under the program. But because we didn't know, we didn't know. So we got her back in school. So 10th grade through 12th grade, she's gone through her bachelor's degree and even gotten her master's degree in acting. So this has resulted in her coming back to school from the alternative school and realizing, like, okay, do I want to be viewed as this type of person, or do I want to be viewed as a regular normal person? And what happened is we worked together. We began to talk about, different scenarios of what she wanted her life to look like. And so I put her in acting school, modeling school, And it kind of just shifted her whole mindset about who she wanted to become. So then it was more of a conversation instead of a disciplinary action that I had to take forcefully to try to get her to wake up and see, like, is this really how you want people to see you for the rest of your life, or do you want to change and shift that? So she also got into not just modeling and acting, but she got into soccer and dealt with some challenges of bullying there, from not from her bullying, but people bullying her and her realizing, like, I don't really fit in here. And so that really shifted her mindset to decide, I don't want to be the person that I have been. I want to change my outlook on my life and I want to be somebody different. So we were able to then kind of grow from that stage of, okay, it's no longer about just punishing and disciplinating her, but it's more about, who do you want to be? And so we just cultivated the relationship that way. Now, I can't say that it was just peaches and cream because we still had some issues of her running away and different things like that. But overall, that was her turning point, was 10th grade, about 15 years old, and deciding that she didn't want to be the person that she was viewed as in elementary and middle school.
So do you think that what I'm hearing is the biggest part of her transition was the move and being taken off the medication?
Absolutely. I definitely think that had everything to do with it. Like I said, I don't recommend that for everybody. You got to have the energy, you got to have the foundation in a higher power. Okay. You have to have something that is bigger and better than you, okay, to stand on, because it was very challenging. It was very, very challenging. My husband to be at the time, which is now my husband, there was time where he had to watch her and some challenges that he had to deal with, and my youngest daughter growing up watching all of the things that had happened prior, then led her into, some challenges in her mind, mentally seeing all of that. And so she started acting out. So it was like one child was good from the move and the change of going to high school and having the experience of going to an alternative school and actually being around children that were not acting the way that she was acting, but worse. And she just kind of woke up. And then I started dealing with my younger daughter that had a different type of challenges. Okay, let's just say that her challenges were more so socializing. She was more so like a social butterfly, but she had seen so many things. And then, being a parent, especially if you have multiple children in your household, but you're dealing with one child, a lot of the focus goes on that one kid, and you don't have the opportunity to really pour much energy into the other child. So that became a problem. And even though my youngest child was like super, no problems, really a good kid, always had her birthday parties, always received like multiple gifts, and was never in any trouble growing up in elementary or middle school. But after she started going to high school, it was like she flipped into all of the things that she had seen and just started acting out to get her way. So then we dealt with some other type of mental challenges with her, even up to, I would say her early 20s.
Wow. So sometimes it's challenging, as you said. I heard you say that when you have other children, I've experienced that as well. I have two daughters. And so when one, if one is acting out, your attention is on that one more so because it seems like there's always something going on, whether it be at school, at home, in the grocery store. It doesn't matter where it is. They don't care. It just happens. Right.
Right.
So that's something that I think parents should be mindful of. Make sure that if you have children that aren't struggling, make sure that you give those kids some time too. it's not always on that other the child that's acting out, because then you can develop some other challenges with those children as well. So what role did your faith play in all of this through these tough times?
Ooh, my faith played every role in all of this. My faith was everything that I depended on. If I didn't have the faith, because remember, I didn't have a community, I didn't have the family that understood. My husband had never been in any type of situation like that, either dealing with a child or children that had any challenges to that degree. And, like I was saying earlier, family and friends, they don't understand unless they have a child gone through or are going through the same exact situation. And it's just really challenging because I didn't have anyone who really understood. And so it was always, I'm excluded from the parties, I'm excluded from the family events, I'm excluded from, whatever is going on. I would never be in the know because no one wanted us to come because they knew that it was going to be a problem with the kids, with my oldest daughter or later on my youngest daughter. So it was just like, okay, let's just put all that to the side. And the only person that I could really depend on was God. The only foundation that I had support from was Him. There were a few people that, would come along throughout my life that would help out. But to really say that they understood, it's really hard for someone to understand something if they've never gone through it themselves. So it's
Absolutely.
kind of like, somebody trying to tell somebody how to do something, but you never experienced doing it yourself. Like, that's kind of off. Like, how can I depend on something that you're just telling me about in theory that's not an actual experience that you know about? So it was hard to look to other people or other things to really give me what I needed to have replenished myself for what I needed in order for me to keep going as a mother, as a to be wife, and to take on a new set of children and not really knowing what to expect with the kids coming together. But thankfully, everything worked out and we were able to get through it, having my oldest daughter change and flip to somebody that we didn't even know who she could become, to my youngest daughter then having the problems that she saw throughout the years that my oldest daughter was struggling with, and now she's acting out, but more so just being the social butterfly and just wanting her way. I would say some of that was related to just being spoiled, and having her way in her younger years. But the faith was everything. I had to stand on God. Like, there was nothing else. There was nobody else. So going to God about every single situation, going to God about my relationship, going to God about my work, going to God about my children, going to God about myself, and not really understanding what exactly I needed to do with my own life and how would I get to the goals and aspirations that He had set for me. Like, I had to fully depend on Him. I didn't have another way out or someone I could just go to and call on and say, hey, well, how do you handle this problem? And I think that so many times the reason why we feel empty with God in our faith, in our belief, is because we aren't giving Him everything. We aren't going to God with all of it. We're kind of like holding back and keeping it a secret. Or it's kind of like we just want to hold tight to what it is that we think that we know and understand. And we're not open to receiving something different because that means that we'll have to change. And so many of us just want to stay the same, and we want to just hold tight to, okay, what was. But the biggest thing that I learned throughout this whole process with my kids and the challenges that I had with them growing up is that change is going to come whether you want it to or not.
Right.
Right. So my faith
is everything. It still is everything. I walk by faith, not by sight. I don't go by the things that I see. I don't go by the things that people tell me. I don't go by the things that I hear. I don't go by just some random thought that pops up in my head from me watching a Netflix show. I go by what God's word says, and I stand on that. And it has gotten me through so much in my life to allow me to be the person that I am today.
That's
That's
amazing.
amazing.
So, Michelle,
So,
tell me
Michelle,
how you
tell me
cared for yourself
for
while
yourself
you
how
were
you
going through
go
all of
through
this.
all this. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Tell me how you
Tell
cared
me
for
how
yourself
you cared
while
for
you were going through all of
going
this.
through all of this. How did I care for myself?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did. Well, let me take that back. I was brought up in a household where we always got up, we made our beds, we brushed our teeth, washed our faces. I was brought up in a household where you put on clothes, you just don't sit around and, just look any kind of way. You look decent in case company comes over. We lived in the country with my grandparents, my mom and and I was the only child on my mom's side, but on my dad's side, it's like 17 of us. So I grew up around my mom's side of the family in my grandparents' household. So if you have a grandparent, that was born in the 1920s, you know that you had regulations, rules, and things that you had to live by, and you just couldn't get up and do anything and everything. So I took care of myself for the most basic necessities. One of the things that has always been a challenge, and I'm sure is for most, is the eating habits. The eating habits were poor because I was raised in a household where you just kind of fend for yourself, but you eat whatever is there. So eating whatever is there does not necessarily mean that you eat healthy. So my health wasn't the greatest. And over the years, I've probably gone through about 5 different surgeries to try to get my health intact. But the bottom line about health is what you put in your mouth. So, you know, that's something that was always a challenge. Um, Taking care of myself from the perspective of getting up and having on some clothes and looking decent, going out in public and all of that. Yes, I was taking care of myself always in that manner, but mentally didn't take care of myself, mentally didn't really know how to handle mental challenges that I was facing. So that's why I say that my faith was everything, because I stand on God's word. Every time I had a challenge mentally, I would go and seek out God's counsel. I didn't go to therapy unless it was a forceful thing that I had to do. Um, I have been in therapy, though. I have been in several different kinds of therapy, but it wasn't by really my choice. So I can't really say that I personally intentionally took care of my mental health. I think that it just kind of happened that by standing on God's word mentally, eventually things just started to come together. My mind became more stable as I continued in my faith and trusting Him. But back then, I was all over the place. I didn't know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, who to do it with. I didn't know anything. Okay. Um, Taking care of myself from the aspect of my spirit. That was always what I was brought up to lead with. Always lead with God. So I was brought up in a household where God was, you had to go to church, you had to get to know God, you had to try to get a relationship, have a relationship with Him. And even though it was kind of forceful at first, and I dibbed and dabbed into some other types of religions other than Christianity in my 20s, but I still ended up coming back to Christianity. So I did know and understand that that was a very important part of my life. So taking care of my spirit was definitely on point. My mind, not so much, not until later on in life. My body, still working on that right now. And relationships are a exact mirror of not taking care of yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically. So my relationships did suffer, especially relationships in friendships and people just not being able to understand, people not understanding, well, why are you going through this? You must be doing something wrong, and just judging you without knowing, without asking questions, without trying to get to know you. Those were the kinds of things that caused me, I feel like that caused me not to really dive deeper into taking better care of my mental state of mind and my physical state of mind.
Wow.
Wow.
So what's one
So
thing
what's
you wish
one thing you wish
your child with mental health
mental health
challenges
challenges
started?
started?
You said, what is one of the things that I would share about?
What one
What
thing
one
you wish
thing you
every
wish
parent of
every
a child
parent
with
of a child with
mental health challenges knew
challenges
from the very
from the
start?
very start?
What should they do from the very start if they have a child that's they're dealing with these kind of challenges?
Yes.
Yes.
Um, the first thing is to just have grace for yourself, have patience for yourself. You know, I don't want to start crying, Calvette, because I feel you. I feel you over there. But seriously, you gotta be patient with yourself. You gotta have mercy for yourself. That means mercy and grace are two different things. When we think about grace, we think about something that we are receiving that we don't deserve. It's kind of like we receive a gift from someone, but we had no idea the gift was coming. So it's a gift, and we gotta be in a mindset to understand that it's okay to receive. It's okay to receive help, even if the help comes in a way that we don't want it to come necessarily, or from someone that we don't really think is the right person that is coming from. Have grace. Have grace for yourself to receive, to be able to just slow down and stop, be patient with yourself. And then mercy is when you have something that you know you should have coming against you, like a punishment or some type of issue that you know you should have got punished or some kind of reprimanding for. Have mercy on yourself and know that God loves you and that He's shielding you from those things happening. Not everything is bad. We have to be able to slow down, stop, have mercy, grace, and patience for ourselves so that we can actually see that this is just a part of our life. And it's a lesson in the life that we have been given. There's a reason why you have been chosen as a parent to deal with the challenges that you are dealing with, because you may have been selected to become this amazing individual, or your child or your children, but you won't know that if you don't make it through. So don't give up, don't quit. Have grace, have mercy, and be patient with yourself. And just take it one simple day at a time.
I think that's
I
some
think
really
that's
good
some really
advice for
good
parents.
parents.
So, how
So,
have your
how have
children,
your
since
children,
they've grown
since
up,
they've
how
grown
have
up,
they
how have they
surprised you
surprised
through
you
this
through
entire
this
journey?
entire journey?
Boy, have they surprised me. Like I said, my oldest daughter is a actress now. So she is in London right now, living, been there for about 4 years, and totally changed her life around. We have a really good relationship. I will say that even though she did shift in high school and going into finishing high school and college, she shifted in her personality and the things that she decided she wanted to be. But our relationship did begin to suffer a little bit. Even though I could talk to her, she still had a mind of her own. Very strong-willed type of individual. So we had a lot of things where we did not agree on the same subject matter. So we currently now have a really good relationship, very open. I'm hearing the stories about things that I didn't even know what happened. So that's very shocking to hear that I didn't know these things were going on behind closed doors. And yeah, so that's very shocking, but it's also good to know that they have opened up to me enough to share their most intricate secrets that they thought that they would take to their graves and never ever tell mommy. Okay. So that's a great thing to have with the adult children now. The girls are really doing well. The other one has my three grandchildren that are ages 9, 5, and 1 years old. So my youngest daughter is doing very well. She is a cosmetologist slash makeup artist slash nail technician. So she pretty much does it all. And whenever I have an event or go out, publicly to do any type of speaking engagement, she's the one that does my whole setup. Okay.
Okay.
So hair, nails, and makeup. Yes, she does
That
it all. So
that's awesome. So
that's
is
awesome.
she an
So is she an
entrepreneur as well?
entrepreneur as well? She is an entrepreneur as well. She has her own business called the Zaki Artistry. And so she does that full time. Yes. So every it's really shocking to see like how they have really transformed into these beautiful, amazing women that are really driven, passionate about the things that they believe in, passionate about their work, passionate about their health because both of them are vegan now and they don't eat meat. They don't eat anything animal products. So it's just amazing to watch like they've taken care of their spirit, their minds, and their bodies, and they're both in relationships, very long-term committed relationships right now. So they are doing really amazing. So shout out to them.
Wow,
Wow,
amazing.
amazing.
That is
That is
awesome.
awesome.
So what
Yes, yes. So
changes do
what
you
changes
wish
do
to
you
see
wish to see in
in schools or in
schools or in
healthcare,
health,
in social
social
media, or
media,
media period when
media
it comes to
period when it
supporting
comes to
kids with
supporting
mental health
kids with
things?
mental health things? Oh man, where do I start? It's more like the question. I think that for one, just being able to understand that everybody does not function the same. We are all different, every single one of us. And one of the things that like I was saying earlier, my oldest daughter didn't have any problem with academics. She was like smart as a whip. So she would breeze through the courses, through the classes and not have a problem. But it just was the fact that she was bored, she just wasn't interested, she already knew the material. So I would say to schools, make it a little challenging in the sense of understanding that everybody doesn't learn the same way. So when you're teaching, when you're using a curriculum, switch it up a bit, bring in something that maybe you never brought in before. If you have the ability at your school as a teacher, as a principal, as a district board or whatever, just make sure that you are accommodating every type of learning style. Don't just succumb to this is the regular way of learning. I remember seeing on social media a school that teaches kids through music, a
Mhm.
school that teaches kids through activity, like literally playing in the classroom while they're learning. So come up with new ideas, new ways of teaching, of helping the kids to learn how to get the education, how to get the things that they need to get in order for them to be successful. Like they cannot just all be the same, because if that were the case, then we wouldn't have different eye retinas, different fingerprints, and different voices. Every single person on the face of this earth has a different voice, a different fingerprint, and a different eye retina. So we need to adhere to just that adjustment for starters. And then, I think that we need to really change our curriculums around learning things deeper that cater to just not just the mental state of what we are getting information about, but learning how to accommodate for spiritual things, mental things, how to handle ourselves physically as well as relationally. So those are the things that I think that if we were to change and implement, and I know that everybody's not going to believe exactly the same thing, and I know that everybody's not going to have the same type of mental stability, but just being able to have accommodations for the differences. Because we are different. We're all different. And learning how to handle our bodies, how to handle our relationships, I don't think it's enough of that. I think that we just kind of depend on social media to lead us in the relationships. And then we get into
Yeah.
relationships, and the kids are in relationships and in elementary school talking about boyfriends and girlfriends. And I'm like,
Yes.
wait a minute. Like, what is this? And they see things and they're doing things that adults do, and it's not appropriate. And I
Yeah.
think that we need to start earlier, and we just need to change the curriculum to cater to more than just information. Just instead of just learning how to do something or really going into a deeper depth of whys in order for us to be able to have a better school system for our kids.
I think
I
that
think that
something you touched
something
on
you touched
earlier
on
was
earlier
the
was the
IEP.
IE.
A
You
lot of
know,
parents
a
aren't
lot of
aware of
parents
that,
aren't
or
aware
not
of that
aware of
or
their
not
50
aware of
that they can have a 504 plan. So those are things that are really important. And I love what you said about we need to basically schools, healthcare, social media, we need to shift, right? Because right now God is shifting things. The world is not like it was
Yes.
when it was COVID. And so when COVID happened, we had to learn and we had to shift and we had to do things different. And so that's the same way our schools, healthcare, and media, for me, my thought process is they need to shift as well. So I love what you said. We need to accommodate all learning styles. It's not just about um one learning style, and that's even on jobs when it comes to them going to work or even us going to work. Everyone's different. So I worked for a company that would actually ask, what is your learning style, before they went into
Wow.
training. And so that was something it was easier for them to learn, and it built that relationship with their trainer, because that trainer was training based on that individual's learning style.
Wow, that is so good. I love that because it's necessary. We are different, and then we should embrace our differences instead of judging or shunning our differences. It starts at the beginning when we are born. We teach each other that our differences are bad instead
Right,
of embracing the fact that we're all human and we were
right,
not designed to be exactly the same. If that were the case, it would be a cookie cutter nation. It'll be a cookie cutter world. Okay.
right. Right. And you mentioned that, and it reminds me of you and I had a conversation. This was during KBBU, and you were saying that, you do business with, you know, people from all backgrounds, right? From all different beliefs. And I remember there being a conversation about there was a business that, some people might not have wanted to done business with this individual because um it wasn't something that they felt like it was appropriate. But how you took that difference and you learned so much from that business owner that you would not have known if you had said, "Oh, I'm a believer and I am not dabbling with that." You didn't do that.
Yes.
So you embrace their
Yes.
differences. And I remember that conversation. So thank you for sharing that. So, how can listeners support parents and kids going through similar situations?
How can you support if you're not in that situation? Just be there. literally just show up for them. If you have a friend, a family member, or someone, even the child itself that go take them out, go for a walk, spend some time with them, put in the time. Relieving the parent from the child for a few minutes means the world to the parent. Being able to, maybe take them for a movie or some ice cream. I wouldn't really recommend ice cream though, but giving them something, a break, and just being present. And instead of just deciding that it's more important for you to be searching through your phone on social media doing nothing, go plan an activity, go plan a dinner date, cook for them, do something, clean their house, send a maid to their house or something. That was a lot. That will relieve a lot of stress from someone who is dealing with a child or a parent themselves with challenges with ADHD, ADD, any type of bipolarism, anything that is challenging mentally for any child parent. You can make a difference by just showing up. Be present. Do something that would benefit their life.
I love that. So, if you could share one message of hope with other families that are going through this, what would that be?
Like I said before, just be yourself. Stop trying to live up to the expectations of others. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. And just take it one day at a time, because that's all you got anyway.
Right. Right. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for coming on the show today. It has been an honor and a blessing to have you with us.
Thank
I
you so
know that
much.
you and I have had some conversations about this, and you're actually my first guest. And
Yeah.
so I'm grateful that you decided to come on the show. I'm also very grateful that you have pushed me when it comes to this journey, because I can tell you that when I started Kingdom Inspired Kidz, it was a camp. Then it became a hotline so that parents could call in and talk, and have a conversation with someone while they were going through, maybe their child is acting up and they need to speak to someone. And then it
Yes.
turned into this actual podcast where now I am really open and vulnerable and transparent about my journey as a parent and how other parents can navigate through this thing, because they're not alone. And I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of times parents think that they are alone, but they are not alone.
Not alone at all. There are so many of us that are dealing with the same issue all across the entire world, but we just don't talk about it. So
Right.
don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. Just be
Do
who you
not
are.
do not be ashamed. Know that you have a support system. That is why we're here. Michelle, before we leave today, go ahead and give them your contact information again.
Sure. So if you're interested in credit repair services, that's going to be www.kingdombuilderscreditrepair. That's builders with an S. And you can also call us at 844-522-7552, or email us at info@kbcrllc.com. If you are interested in the Business University, you can also go to www.kbbullc.com. And you can call us at 855-522-8552, or email us at info@kbbullc.com. And if you are interested in our nonprofit services, you can also go to www.kbcdc.org. That stands for Kingdom Builders Community Development Center. So that would be www.kbcdc.org is the website, or you can also call us at 877-855-2232, or you can email us at info@kbcdc.com. All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Calvette. I really enjoyed myself. And thank you. And I would love to come back anytime you're ready.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'll
You are
see you
most welcome.
soon. All right, guys. So you can always watch me live on Wednesday mornings at 7 a.m. Central Time with that's Kingdom Inspired Kidz Podcast, where parents talk. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can email me at mail@kikllc.com. I'd love to have you as a guest. Also, you can watch me live on social media, all platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and I would love to see you guys join. So when you're watching the show, please like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends about it, and just support overall. If you know anyone that has a child that has ADD, ADHD, that are going through some challenges, please don't hesitate to tell them about the podcast. I would love to be able to help in any way possible. So, guys, I hope you have a great, amazing rest of your day, and we will see you next Wednesday morning. We'll see you this Wednesday morning live at 7 a.m. Central Time. Have an amazing rest of your day.